Hello, I would like to share my thoughts on the recent G20 debacle that went down in Toronto. I want to talk about the riot police, the violent and peaceful protesters, and the politicians. So first off, the politicians. I guess if you know me, you probably know that I'm not too fond of politicians as a way to promote social change. I think that as individuals, we should try to be more proactive in representing ourselves. And, this is the most direct form of representation, if we actually individually try to make a difference rather than saying that they're going to represent whatever I believe, and just saying that they're the average of this area for whatever reason. Like, people are unique. People have their own preferences, and they should represent them. So, like, whatever these politicians and bankers decided, I don't really care. Like, the public in general, I think, should be educating themselves. That's really how we're going to make any difference. Because, democracy doesn't help, because having 50 ignorant people voting on what we should do doesn't really change the fact that we're going to come up with a bad decision. We have to educate people. That's the first step. So I think we should be, if we really want to be promoting change and we want to be actually pursuing that, we should be pursuing aggressive education. We should be educating people as effectively as possible. And I know we definitely came from a place that was much worse. Like, we are probably one of the most educated generations of all time. Like, we're only getting better. Science is growing, knowledge is growing. The general human philosophy is growing and expanding and becoming more interconnected. So I think, we're very educated, but still, we have a lot to, improve on. So I think we should still recognize that if we really care about it. Granted, I don't always care about educating people. Like, you don't always want to seem like that guy who just wants to be preachy. I hate feeling like I'm preaching to people. Obviously, I want to talk about things that are important. Like, you have to engage in conflict in some way, and it's better to engage in conflict through words than through killing people. So obviously I want to do this in some form, but yeah, I don't always want to be that guy. So I'm not saying that you should always be educating people, but if we want to, like, if our goal is to pursue social change as quickly as possible, the method to do that is not democracy. It is to educate people as efficiently as possible. It does seem really strange to me that the general public is all up in arms about the fact that the government spend billions of dollars. They spent billions of dollars on this meeting for security, and they built some indoor swimming pool, and like, they just went all out. And, people are all upset because they figured the government has misspent their money. And I think the perfect analogy to this is just the battered wife syndrome, where you have the wife that gets beat up by her husband, and, she complains. She says that, that wasn't right, but she still goes back to him. She still obviously inevitably goes back to the same guy because she believes that, he has her best interest at heart. He loves her. And it's so twisted, it's so sad. It all obviously stems from very low self-esteem. It's not a very easy problem to fix. I think the only thing we can really do is try to empower that battered wife, try to, educate her about how she has value, and, help her out in life, and just give her a helping hand generally, just make her feel better about herself. And I think that's what we need to do about society. We need to educate society about how we aren't just these, like, broken creatures that need to be, held in place by government authority. Human beings have the ability to be aware of our surroundings and act logically. We are from the same gene pool as government officials. I think that's very important to always keep perspective on. So whatever they can do, we can do as well, theoretically. And this brings me to the protesters. First off, I love the peaceful protesters. The peaceful protesters who go out there and they spread their peaceful message, and they're like, hey man, we're allowed to express our thoughts here. We are sharing ideas. I totally sounded like a hippie there. I know that was kind of subconscious, but I love that. I think that's great. That's part of education. That's part of making a passive stand against oppression, basically. As for the protesters who are torching cars and breaking windows, I honestly got really mad when I saw that, and it's going to be kind of difficult for me to talk about this. We're getting kind of upset, I'm sure. But think about it this way. Back to the battered wife analogy. If society is our battered wife and we need to, give her a helping hand or make her not feel so afraid, like, 'cause she's all shut down and she doesn't know where to go for help, and she clings on to her strong, abusive husband, basically. It's a very sad situation. She just kind of does it out of fear and out of no self-esteem. So the thing you need to do is to build her up, to help her intellectually, emotionally, psychologically, and you need to make her into a stronger person so that she can be independent from him, so that she no longer goes back to him after he abuses her. Now, if you go and torch the husband's car, you don't solve anything. All you do is you remove that crutch. The battered wife is still a battered wife. She just doesn't have a abusive husband at that time anymore, because maybe he's, off fixing his car or something. Like, even if you remove the husband from the situation, you don't fix anything. The wife is just going to find another person that fits the same mold, and it's just going to continue. So if you, go and assassinate government leaders, or you go and, I don't know, whatever these completely insane anarchists like to do, and I'm not saying all anarchists are insane, obviously. I'm saying that these particular retarded assholes who will go and just fuck shit up, like, they're honestly just social delinquents, and they like to use social justice as a pretense to, act like a fucking dick. And so I'm really, sorry, I'm getting a little bit upset. But seriously, I'm so frustrated. Like, all they're doing is leading to more shit. Like, the fundamental cause of state war and, national war, all these different types of war, the fundamental cause is people shutting down intellectually. They get afraid and they just enter that reactionary mode where they're willing to just kill and become anything in order to survive. And that's being perpetuated. When you torch something or you blow something up, you don't make people more rational and, interesting. You make people afraid. And they do stupid things when they're afraid. So I don't even understand these people. Like, are they really that deluded? I think sometimes they're so deluded that they think that the state is like from a video game, and the state has 99% health, and like when you blow up a cop car, it goes down to 98 or something. Like, they're just insane. The people, like the cops, these aren't the state. The state is a concept. The state is a concept that we create out of the belief that it is necessary. That's all it is. We believe that we need these people to run our lives and make decisions for us, and so the state is created because there are many narcissistic sociopaths out there who would love that position. There are many cult leaders who would love to have just ownership over everyone. And so that role is always filled as long as we believe we need that, just like the abusive husband. And yeah, I can't stand it. These people are just insane. The only way to combat the state is to talk about psychology, to talk about economics, to talk about political theory. That way you can show that the state doesn't make any sense, and the best way to represent ourselves and pursue, progress in our society, the best way to pursue that is just education. Aggressive education. I really hope these people aren't going back to communities in which they are celebrated. These idiots who are stomping on cars and breaking shit. Like, I hope they go back to wherever they're from and they're just shamed. Like, that's one of the reasons I really wanted to make this video, is to shame these people if I ever have that kind of power, and to invite everyone to shame these people as just assholes. These are terrorists. These are people who see that they have this beautiful political agenda, and then they just resort to breaking shit indiscriminately, hurting people. I guess they didn't hurt people, but they just broke shit. Like, what's the purpose in breaking a Starbucks window? Like, maybe they did some underhanded things overseas, but like, if that's your standard for something you're going to attack with violence, then you're going to be pretty busy bombing shit. Okay? Like, that's not special. Starbucks isn't special in that regard. Corporate predation isn't a new thing. So, yeah, people piss me off. You're the reason I would never call myself an anarchist these days. As long as the label encompasses pieces of shit like you. There are no words to describe how low you are in my eyes. You take such a beautiful thing, Like, anarchist used to be a word that represented something very beautiful. Something that, these people were warriors, granted, but they didn't fight with just barbaric violence. They fought with ideas. They challenged authority. Like the Chomsky's definition of anarchism. Chomsky defines anarchism as someone who just questions authority. They will question the authority of parents, and if the parents need to be given authority to protect the child, then therefore that is legitimate authority. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily against authority, you just question it. So anarchism is a philosophical road. I just felt a little passionate today, and I thought I'd share my thoughts. I don't always feel this way. But yeah, maybe when I do, I'll end up making a video. Peace. That was so cheesy.